It was always going to be an uphill battle. It's us against the state. It's us fighting for our constitutional rights versus the state that wanted to strip us of those rights.
That's right.
So it was always going to be hard, and we knew that. When you were going in, I probably underestimated. I didn't realise it was going to take us 2.5 years of fighting.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was going to end up on the other side of COVID. It seemed like an open and shut case to me. But hey, here we are going through the motions, fighting, but we're just grateful we had somebody that was willing to stick it out.
Yeah.
And guys, stick it out like Kerry did.
It could be any number of things going into the future, and we really need to make sure we do have these rights in place. So
It's true. You know, it's about having it in place now so that next time we're not actually
right.
chasing our tail.
That's exactly right. And I think that's what we will be doing if we don't all come together on this. You know, one person can only do so much, but together we can do a hell of a lot. So please get behind this. Let's get this case done and dusted and get a win under our belt.
I'm Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia, with today, I reckon, one of Melbourne's bravest women, somebody that's been fighting the draconian laws, the dictator, the tyrant from the beginning. Kerry Cottrell, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Remind the viewers that don't remember your story from the beginning. What happened?
On my walk within my 5 kilometres and in the time frame allowed, and I took a sign with me with Dan Andrews' face, with Toot to Boot. I think it was about 20 minutes into the walk, police attended and warned me to go home or they could arrest me, and received an 1,800 thereabouts fine.
And that's how we got in touch.
And that is how we got in touch.
You got in touch through fightthefines.com.au, which was the campaign that we were running at the time to help people fight back in the fines, and one of our most successful campaigns. But in your case, we stepped it up a bit because we thought there was a more fundamental issue here, a constitutional fight that had to be had.
That's
because
correct.
why? You were complying with all the directions at the time. You were within your 5K. You were doing the hour of exercise. You were alone. But you were wearing a mask. The only thing you were doing that they were fining you for was holding a sign protesting the government.
That's correct.
So that's why we thought we better take this to the Supreme Court.
The central question for the court was whether the directions were ultra vires the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. Ultra vires means beyond power, so essentially that the directions were not permitted by the legislation under which they were purportedly made because of their impact upon political communication, specifically the implied freedom of political communication, which is recognised within our constitutional framework.
What was it, a 3-day trial at first?
Yeah, I think, yes, it
Yeah,
was.
it was a 3-day trial, and I remember we were chatting at the end because we sat through that trial and we had so much hope because it felt like, as a non-lawyer judging the case, that it made sense that we'd won it.
That's right.
But we didn't.
We didn't.
An application for leave to appeal and the ultimate grounds of appeal were filed in September 2021 in the Court of Appeal. Submitting that, the primary decision was based on a number of conclusions that were either not supported by the evidence or wrong at law.
Now, a lot of people will be asking, why bother? Why did you bother continuing to appeal it?
Well, I think it's really important that, we do have constitutional rights, and I worry about other things. Is there going to be climate change lockdowns? Or it can be applied to anything, basically. So if they take that right away now and we don't stand up for our right to speak up, they can pretty much do what they like to us.
And they did. During COVID, they literally did whatever they liked. And the judgment, the ruling at the time, and it was, was in the height of COVID. So I think, I dare say that I feel like the judge probably came at it from a bit of an emotional perspective. COVID hadn't affected his job. He was probably scared of the virus. His ruling was essentially that the fine that the police had withdrawn trying to get you to drop your case, trying to make you lose standing, he pretty much ruled that it was a valid fine for holding a sign in protest of the government during lockdown. That's it.
I mean, people wear political T-shirts all the time. You know, where do you draw the line?
There's no lack of emergencies for a government to strip us of our rights. And as you can see, they're fighting tooth and nail to ensure that they win, to ensure that they have the right to strip us of our rights. And that's why I personally believe this is one of the most important cases still going on.
So do I.
But, you know, there's obviously, we saw during your first case, there was so much public support. We were able to cover the costs of it easily because people were just in it and people were living it.
Yep.
And I feel now you've gone through all the hoops. We've gone to every court hearing. We've gone to every fight. You've put in the hours, the work.
It's more than 2 years.
It's more than 2 years you've been fighting this fight. And here we are at the final stage, at the final appeal. I know how tough and lonely it sometimes is, especially now where a lot of people have lost interest. It's lonely to sit in an appeals court with 3 judges and they're there to essentially determine our future. And you know how important it is that you've invested everything into it. So I appreciate the fact that you've done this as a lone soldier. You've fought and haven't given up. And I know that people at home watching this are going to watch this and remember, you know, take yourself back to those dark days where you were banned from doing all these things. But even if you complied, if you dared to stand up and talk out, what happened was they came after you, they arrested you, they fined you, they dragged you through the courts to ensure that never happens again under any circumstances, whether it's COVID or climate or whatever other emergency comes up in the future. This is it. SaveVictoria.com is where people can contribute to the appeal. Like I said, I think we're about 13% in there, so we have a fair way to go, guys.
And I also just want to say, without Rebel News, I wouldn't have been able to fight this. So Rebel News got behind me and got behind Victoria and even Australia. So, you know, get behind Rebel News. It may seem like this is all behind us, but you can see the way it fluctuates. It's up, it's down. There's always that looming threat. So we need to be prepared and we need to have things in place to make sure that these things don't happen again.
Absolutely. SaveVictoria.com, guys. Every dollar counts. We need it. It's a $90,000 bill. That's $90,000 just on the appeal. It's been hundreds of thousands to get here. $90,000. I know we can do this together. Remember how it was and protect us from the future, from stopping it happening again. Kerry, I think next time, hopefully, we're on camera giving them good news.
Hopefully. So I'm hoping to speak to you soon. Let's hope we get a win for me, for Victoria, and for Australia.
People think you're suing, 1, to get off the fine, 2, for a cash payout. Both are not true. What we're actually suing for here is a declaration from the court, essentially saying that your implied right of political communication is upheld no matter what, and nobody can override it. That's what you're fighting for. You're not getting it, even if you win, you're not getting a payout.
I'm not getting a payout.
You're fine they ripped up in the beginning because they tried to make you lose standing in the Supreme Court. They were worried.
That's exactly right. So there is no fine. We don't have a fine to pay. I'm doing this not just for me, for all Victorians, for all our kids, for future generations, because courts have precedents. So, you know, this doesn't even just affect Victorians. This affects everybody in Australia. So I'm doing this for all Australians, and I think it's really important.
To each and every one of you who did support Kerry's fight from the beginning, and there's a lot of you out there, thank you. We couldn't get to this point without your support. But this is it. This is the last chance to dig deep one more time for Kerry's case. If you believed in it then, believe in it now. SaveVictoria.com. Do you want to say anything to the people that have supported you till now?
I just want to double down on that. Thank you, everyone that has supported us. You've helped me. You've helped Victoria. Let's finish this off. Let's get this done. We really need to have a win here, and we can't do it without your support.
The fact is, you've got to be in it to win it.
That's right.
We were never going to win any of these cases if we didn't fight them. We've had so many cases, and most of them have ended up pretty good for us. This has been one of the toughest ones. Most of them have ended up pretty good. But even when you lose, you know, you were never going to win it if you didn't try.
That's right.
And this is our last try. This is our last chance. And by God, we're hoping. Let's hope that...
Nothing changes without fighters. And we all need to fight this together, all of us. So please, all of those people, amazing people that have supported us in the past, please stick with us. Let's see this out.
SaveVictoria.com. You help Kerry do it, and hopefully together, Kerry, we'll get it across the line.
Yes. Let's hope.